good.
We're good to go. This meeting will now come to order. We'll have the roll call. Garrett? Here. Ed? Here. George? Here. Roxy?
Here.
Reagan?
Here.
And Jean? Here. Let's stand for the pledge. Flags on this side over here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is audio recorded. And at this time, is there any public comment for items not on the agenda? Gloria?
No.
Okay. Consent agenda. Approval of the following. A, city claims paid due to timeliness on 3/27/2025 totaling $86,437.65. B, city claim paid due to timeliness on 3/31/2025 to mail utility bills totaling $204.22. C, city claims to be paid. D, Three Forks Rodeo Arena claims to be paid. E, city council minutes of 2/11/2025, 3/11/25, and 3/14/25. F, zoning and planning board minutes of 2/20/2025. G, draw 28 for the water project totaling $21,847.70 from the ARPA Local Fiscal Recovery LRF funding. H, draw number 2 for City Hall for State Local Infrastructure Partnership Act, House Bill 355 in the amount of $12,544.23. I, service agreement with Red Eye Rodeo for rough stock timed events, goats, pickup men, and I saw that bullfighters. Those are the guys that hurt everybody in. I was thinking of the guy out there like
Not
this.
like that.
Okay. For the Three Forks Rodeo Arena, junior high school rodeo. J, service agreement with Pharmacent Architects for drawings of the fire hall addition up to $6,500 per hour and plus hourly rates. K, change order to TNT Electrical Service Agreement for additional electrical expenses at the City Hall for $8,400. Council, do you have any questions on the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve this consent agenda.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. We'll have the vote. Garrett?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
George?
Yes.
Roxy?
Yes.
Reagan?
Yes.
And Jean? Yes. Our next item of new business is a public comments. Let me get back up here. I'm trying to look at this here. A public hearing and decision on a resolution for closing Kansas Street on specific dates due to reservations at the Three Forks Rodeo Arena. City of Three Forks, Montana, resolution number 437/2025. A resolution closing Kansas Street on specific dates due to the reservations at the Three Forks Rodeo Arena and any future dates reserved for large events which will be noticed on the Three Forks Rodeo and City of Three Forks websites and Facebook pages. Whereas pursuant to the Three Forks Rodeo Arena Board of Directors, the board has specific duties it shall perform to provide for responsible and successful use of the Three Forks Rodeo grounds. Number 3 and number 4, the bylaws state that the board will establish policies for the operation of the arena and promote the schedule events. Whereas the Three Forks Rodeo Arena has several large events each year, which have participants parking west of the Kansas Street. Then the participants riding horses or walking over to the arena. In an effort to promote safety and minimize any vehicular pedestrian, or equestrian incidents, the Three Forks Rodeo Arena Board requests closure of Kansas Street. Whereas the Three Forks Rodeo Arena Board also requests the Public Works Department provide necessary signage to close Kansas Street, and arena groundskeeper and or board members at the event will ensure the signage closing the street is posted and is placed prior to the event and removed and stored safely after each event. Whereas in accordance with section 7-1-4127 MCA, notice was provided of this public hearing in the Three Forks Voice on March 26th and April 2nd, 2025, as well as posted on the city website, city Facebook page, and around town at various physical locations. Whereas the Three Forks Rodeo Arena Board met on April 7th, 2025, and voted to request the city council to close Kansas Street from Highway 2 to Milwaukee Street as stated below. Now, therefore be it resolved by the Three Forks City Council that it hereby closes Kansas Street on the following dates, as well as any other event exceeding 20 participants. April 26th and 27th of 2025, Three Forks Junior and High School Rodeo. June 28th and 29th, High Winds Rodeo, Youth Rodeo. July 4th and 5th, Wrangler Team Roping Championships. July 18th and 19th, Three Forks Northern Rodeo. August 30th and 31st, Wrangler Team Roping Championships. And September 13th and 14th, Bridger Mountain Junior and High School Rodeo. The city clerk is hereby directed to advertise street closure dates on the cities and Three Forks Rodeo website and Facebook pages prior to these events, dated this 8th day of April 2025. Do we have any discussion on this?
Just like last year.
Just like last year.
I make a motion that resolution number 437-2025, resolution closing Kansas Street on specific dates due to reservations at the Three Forks Rodeo Arena, and any future dates reserved for large events, which will be noticed on Three Forks Rodeo and the City of Three Forks websites and Facebook pages.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Does our public have anything to say?
I was just wondering, why do you have to do this every year after year after year?
The dates change.
That's the only reason?
And we might have, like this year, we have an additional event than we had last year.
Well,
And the people that live around there deserve the right to know when it's going to be closed.
And it's in yeah, and all that in the first section, it's in the bylaws for the rodeo that they have to do.
really?
Okay.
I
Okay.
think it
and-
promotes good communication between what's going on at the Three Forks Rodeo Board and like, as they kind of act as their own department, but you know,
Yeah.
don't come here. I think it's good communication of what's going on throughout the city.
Any other questions? It's been moved and seconded. Okay, we'll have the vote. Garrett,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
George,
Yes.
Roxy,
Yes.
Reagan,
Yeah.
and Jean here.
Yes.
George was here. Okay, that has been passed. Do we have any report of officers? That would be Kelly.
I do. I don't think you guys will like them, but we got the notice on the health insurance that I told you usually it's lower than what they estimated. This year it's going up 12.2%. So it's almost at the high of what they predicted. So health insurance is going up. Everything is going up. So I would like to meet with the Water and Sewer Committee. We haven't raised rates in 11 years, and I think we're going to have to.
Would you want to meet?
It would be Garrett, Jean, and Ed.
I would like to be in that too, if it's on like a Tuesday or a Thursday.
What's your schedule, Garrett?
I'm free Fridays, but I could make a Thursday afternoon
Okay.
work.
Or I could make a Tuesday afternoon as long as it's, around 6 o'clock.
Okay. So what day works best for you, Garrett, on a Thursday?
Next Thursday, the 17th.
Okay.
Make that happen.
What
Is that
time?
soon enough?
Yeah, what time?
Is everybody okay with 6 o'clock? I could maybe get off a little bit early too.
We'll schedule it for 6 on the 17th.
Where will we meet in at this regular office?
Yes.
Yep, back
Hey,
at City
that'd be
Hall.
good. Yeah. First meeting. 6 p.m. Thursday, the 17th. Okay, anything else, Kelly?
Nope.
Crystal?
Remember we did, I had a little note, but I lost it. There were several things I had, I lost them all, sorry. But one that I remember was we sent that letter to MDT and the Gallatin County Commission about asking if the 25 can get extended to the park. And Gallatin County Commissioners agreed with that and forwarded it on. We haven't heard back from MDT yet or anything, but they thought it would be an easy transition. And then I emailed you all, except for you today, Ed. I can give you this copy. They are announcing their Montana Municipal Summits, which are like one-day trainings, and they go around the state, do the same thing, but the conversation may change based on who all attends. The nearest one is in Belgrade, and it's on May 20th. It's all in your email. If you want to go, just let us know. They're usually like 9 to 3:30 or so. Sometimes if there's a lot of
This one said
Q&A, it might be, yeah, it might, I know that I've been there before after 5 because there was a lot of a lot of good conversation and stuff, but these are really good if you guys want to go. They usually tell you about the updates of what's happened legislatively, what are other cities and towns facing, what should you be on the horizon. So there's a copy for you, Ed. That's all I
When
got.
George went last year, he brought back a whole list of everything that had passed and not passed, and that was very helpful.
From what I understand from the email, there's no cost.
No, those are free and they provide lunch. Mhm.
Is that the same thing that Reagan and I went to in Butte, or was that a different
so.
organization?
Probably went to one there, and I went to one in Belgrade last year. I mean,
Okay.
they just go all over, and I mean, I don't know what the agenda is going to be exactly yet, but they usually have someone from MMIA, someone from the League of Cities and Towns, and then of course they're going to have a legislative update this year because of everything that's happened. So.
When we went to, there were even some legislature, like senators and House
Oh.
representatives that were there.
Was it one day?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't remember what you went to. Well, anyway,
Sounds familiar.
they're pretty cool. I like
It was
them.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I really liked it.
that's it, Randy.
May 20th.
That's it? Okay. Reports from council committees, if any.
I have something, for the Parks Committee, 'cause, like planting trees, and I was talking to Jean about it, and so, we talked about planting 2 blue spruce, the city would do it, but behind the Welcome to Three Forks sign. John Q. Adams, yeah. That's gonna happen at some point.
For like with the Arbor Day money?
Yeah.
Okay.
They seem to do well.
When do I get the credit card?
Whenever you want
Credit
it.
card. Yeah.
How much money can we spend?
850 is what we got this year for it.
Wow. It's a big.
Just one really big one.
I don't know if we got a really big one for 850.
But you can pick them out, and then we can have Bill or Steve pick them up and
Mhm.
bring them out.
When's our street cleanup this year?
That was going to be brought up in my report.
Oh, very well.
Crystal, what is the date?
Just a second before we move on. That same day that we met down there, Steve and Bill were also there, was talking to Steve about planting the trees and whatever. But they also asked us to come out and look at the edge of that street. Last year, they attempted to plant some grass on there where it seems like the vehicles from the lumberyard turn around and made a real mud hole in there. So Steve suggested to me that maybe they just cut out a bunch of that grass and put a gravel strip in there up to about where the water stuff is, the sprinkler heads and things, and try to get. Now, the other night when I come home and we'd had that hard rain, that street was flooded, and I mean, it's just low right there. And so Steve was hoping maybe we could get rid of some of the water with some
Where
things.
is this exactly? Like on
By the
Cottonwood?
farmer's
No,
market.
right on on the main
On
street,
the main street.
right across from the lumberyard. They'll just
Okay.
take a strip of that, saw it out and put some good gravel in there.
Okay.
And he said the thing about it is the people at the farmer's market, they park there anyway, even though there's a sign that says no parking, but they do, they park and unload and whatever. And he says, so it's just beating the grass down. And so he thought this would be a better solution.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead, Randy.
That's all then.
Well,
Crystal,
what did you ask me about street
About
cleaning?
for
Arbor
Earth Day.
Day.
Earth Day,
Yeah.
trails cleanup,
Yeah,
trails and parks cleanup.
and we decided.
Is that what you're talking about?
And streets,
That has nothing to do with what I'm talking
Or-
about.
Well, picking up
the
trash along the
sides of
street.
streets.
Picking up
Oh.
trash.
Yeah, Earth Day.
You mean the
I thought you
highway?
were talking about
Yeah, you
streets.
remember that like
Well,
2.5 hour
Yeah,
hike we
so
had?
that would be the highway cleanup,
Okay,
and that's for our Earth Day. And Crystal, when did we decide on the
The 24th
24th,
in
George?
the afternoon
this
at
month.
1 o'clock.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll meet at
This
the
month. Oh.
city office.
1 o'clock.
It was, when did we use?
1
this?
o'clock.
1 o'clock. Yeah, we cleaned up quite a bit last year.
We have, a couple of you guys coming, Susan's family's coming, and then the Hollow Top Heating and Cooling crew is all coming.
Melissa and I will be with.
Awesome. So there'll be a lot of us.
And there was,
So we can spread it out and get it all done pretty quickly.
another lady asked me about it, and I imagine the LDS will get involved.
Yeah, and I have it, it's scheduled on Facebook like for the next couple of weeks at different times, so people might just show up too, but that'll be great.
Okay, that answers your question, George, and I don't have to say anything tonight. Thank you.
okay, I have one more question. Do you want to talk about the sign?
Sure.
I started bids this afternoon.
Oh, you did?
And my instructions were City of Three Forks, established 1908, City Hall, and 206.
Main.
South
Main.
South Main.
South Main.
South-
Do we need it to say City of Three Forks?
No,
or just City
we
Hall?
don't.
If it's
We
gonna be
don't.
big, so like, what were you thinking? What, like a size?
We can have anything 4.5 feet. What, what's her name?
Christina?
What Christina said, let's do 4 feet because it's common. I asked for metal for low maintenance,
Mhm.
and the width depends on how stuff goes out.
So at City Hall, we have, the wooden letters that are up there and it's dark at night. There's no light when we leave for council meetings. So we, during this remodel, had them put a light out that I believe they said was dawn to dusk. And so it'll just be on. And so we were talking about maybe having a sign that was under that so that you could see what we were at nighttime. That
Because the letters are getting pretty
They were
warm.
there
They're
when they
pretty
started.
warped,
They're
too.
trashed.
they are. So maybe we take them down, but it's nice because it's written so big. To get rid of that, you don't see City Hall very large anymore, but I don't, if it's 4 feet, I think you're gonna have to take them down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
And on that sign, you could put City Hall.
'Cause
so maybe
they do-
it's
they-
wider
they
so that it
either
can
need
say
to
it
be
big.
Taken down and something else put up or replaced.
So what
And I
was the
was-
ballpark? Did she give you a
I didn't
ballpark
get
yet?
a ballpark
Okay.
yet. And then our city seal's gonna be on the left side.
Okay. I think that'd be cool.
That sounds nice.
Get a cost, George.
One bit down and a couple more to go.
But if we can make City Hall bigger and take out City of Three Forks and just have City Hall big, I think
Okay, all right.
that would be good.
Is there any more new business? Okay. Okay, on the unfinished business, we got the council committees. Got that all done. Okay, for unfinished business, Kelly, on the flood mitigation.
We got our 30-day letter saying that they are starting the process for approving our draft maps. So there's 30 days where the city can dispute any of the data using engineering and that, which we don't have anything that would dispute it at this point. After the 30 days and the process gets going, and we have about 6 months, and the new maps will have to be approved by the city. So we're going to have the west side of town end up in the floodway before our mitigation project is probably even completely started. So people will not be happy about that. Because there's already, I mean, 2 homes over there that have burn damage, or one's been torn out because it burned down, and they may not be able to rebuild once it hits floodway. I've asked DNRC Tracy Sears to give me more information on floodway, because I don't know a lot about it, because we don't have really any in town. But this process is starting. We knew it probably would, but we were hoping it would be held off until our project was going. Or done, and then nobody would end up in the floodway, but that's not what's happening now. So within probably 6 months, we will have the new maps and they will be adopted. So there's going to be a lot of people on the west side of town that are not going to be very happy about that. But more bad news, and then I have good news for tonight. We got a letter back on the 14th of March from Montana DES, because our FEMA grant will start. They get the money and then they give it down to us for reimbursement. And they sent out a letter that because FEMA, the new government, is manually going to review all FEMA grants, which means we could not draw on our grant. We just had training on how to draw on it. And then they sent this out saying we can't draw on it because they don't know if it's going to actually happen, because they're manually reviewing all FEMA grants at this point. We don't have it in writing, but according to DES on Friday, it sounds like BRIC grants are going to be gone, which we got approved for both BRIC and FMA, and we chose to go FMA. Good choice by us. FMA, the flood mitigation assistance, has been around a long time, and it appears they're not going to do anything with FMA. So according to them, we can go ahead and start doing draws, and we should be good with our grant from FEMA.
But it'll be slow.
They'll be slow getting reimbursed. We hadn't stopped. The engineers were still going ahead. We were still going ahead as if the grant was going to happen, because we still had DES's match money and our SID money. But it does sound like we're going to get our grant money from FEMA. If we'd chosen BRIC, we probably wouldn't be, because Forsyth is in that situation. They chose the BRIC side of it, and now they probably don't have funding for their project. So that's the good news. Is it sounds like our grant is okay. We will continue as is. The early or late this year or early next year, hopefully we'll be in construction. So the floodway part of it, there's probably a year that people will be in the floodway, because we have to get FEMA's buy off on the project before we do it. We don't want to spend a whole bunch of money until we know they're going to actually say, yes, she'll be out of the floodway or floodplain. So that should make their side of it easier. Once it's done, we just send them the final stuff and they'll say, yes, you're out. But nothing's ever fast with government or FEMA. So I'm going to say the maps get approved in August. It'll probably be a year before they accept our project, if it gets done in the early spring of 26.
So if they accept our project, then that property will come out of the floodway?
It's called a conditional letter of amendment. Like right now, if you build your house out of the floodplain, you ask FEMA to accept it and say you're out. This is starting out with, at the beginning of the project, saying, here's our plan. If we do it this way, will you say that we're out of the Jefferson floodplain? Because we want them to say yes to it before we do spend the majority of the money. So it's called a conditional letter of map amendment. So they're going to say yes before we get to the final stage. They have to have the plan 60% done, and they're close to that right now. They're working with MDT on the culvert. But once they get to the 60% mark, they're going to send it to FEMA. FEMA has a new director, and no one's quite sure how long it'll take for that to be reviewed now that there's a new director there. They're going to try to find out, but they were saying today probably 60 to 90 days, but that was just a guess at this point. But once they say, if you build it, you'll get out, then we'll pretty much know that it's going to happen, but the people can't build until they're out of the floodplain or floodway. So there's going to be, like I said, I would have guessed at least a year where if someone comes in and wants to build a garage, we're going to have to tell them no. Or if someone wants to replace their old manufactured home, which someone came in the other day that's lived there forever, and I've decided I finally want to do this. Like, can you do it in the next 6 months? Because if not, you probably aren't going to be able to for a while. So
is that the only real consequence of being in the floodway with the new maps?
the floodway means a
Like,
no build zone. No build at all. If there's a fire, you can build that same footprint. So the single wide trailer that burned down, they could build that same footprint, but now that that single wide's gone and then the floodway is going to come in, I don't know if that makes it an unbuildable lot. That was one of my questions to DNRC is if when it becomes floodway, if there's nothing there, can they rebuild what was there before? So there's a lot of it. I don't know exactly how the floodway works. We just know it's a no build zone. But if there is something that happens to a structure, there is a way to rebuild that structure, but not anything else. So that's the biggest consequences. There's all the people that have, there's empty lots or people that want to improve their property. You
And
can't,
that's the blue in the maps, right?
it's the hatched. Blue is
Hatched.
floodplain. Right now we have
Yeah.
floodplain.
Floodplain versus
The
floodplain.
new map is the hatched area and it's
Okay.
this west side of
Yeah.
town.
Okay.
It's the fastest and highest waters. That's the most dangerous place during the flood.
So if you're on the west side of town, they change that to a floodway, are you gonna automatically lose your flood insurance?
You won't lose flood insurance according to DNRC. They also say it will not increase the cost of flood insurance.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I believe that. I mean, they know more than I do, but if you're in a riskier spot, my guess is your insurance would go up. But DNRC told us when the maps came out first came out 4 years ago, that flood insurance prices would not change because of this. But you don't lose your flood insurance. They do still offer flood insurance. Yeah. But you can't build new, so it's only the existing structures would be covered.
So Kelly, say, you're in the floodway and the canal has gone through. Do you still need any elevation shots or you can just do the same?
Once the mitigation channel's in, nobody will need elevations on the west side of town. They'll all just come out of the floodplain, floodway, everything. They'll be completely out.
It'll be just normal.
It'll just be normal like Manhattan. You can go to Manhattan and say, I want to build on this lot. They say, this is our plan, no floodplain permits. This side, the east side of town will still have the Madison floodplain to deal with. But the Jefferson touches almost every property except for Ridgeview. So even the people in the Madison will have some benefit from the canal going or the channel going in. They're working on that map now because they've always mapped it with both the Jefferson and Madison together. So Great West is now taking the Jefferson out and seeing what's left with the Madison. So we'll have that map to where we can tell people that are in the Madison floodplain, here's what you'll have once this is done, and here's your base flood, because right now it's based on both of them. So it should drop the base flood some for this side of town too.
So the gentleman that's gonna build over on 7 foot the pillars,
Yes,
is that still gonna be left the same?
yeah, because that's not
Because
it.
of Madison.
They, with their floodplain permit, all the floodplain permits I've done in the last 4 years have said, we know we're being remapped. It would behoove the client or the person to build to the new map.
Okay.
So all of them have that in there that you should build higher because it's going to change. And then it's up, we can't force them to until the new map is adopted. We can't regulate to that new map. So I tell them it would be a good idea to do that. But if they're building 2 feet above the current base flood, they're probably going to be higher than the new base flood anyway, except for like where the school is. That's the worst place where both of them overlap the most is the school. But yeah, they've all been told and that they should build higher. They don't have to, but they should. So, and that's why the people on the west side of town that wanted to get a new manufactured home and turn it to a different direction, if they can get it done now, right now they're out of the floodplain. They're going to go in the floodway, so they wouldn't be able to do it in the future. So,
Thank you. Are there any more questions for Kelly? Okay, it sounds like we'll just proceed on now. Kelly.
at least we have some good news. Our grant's probably
Yeah.
out there.
Okay, is Susan Hayes on tonight for water project update? We do have I did sign a thing to proceed for construction of the pipe.
Starting
work,
Monday.
And that starts Monday, so the streets will start getting tore up. And I talked with Steve about it, and they're starting this early, and they're thinking they'll get done in September, late September. And this way they'll have all the streets put back, and that's what we were concerned about. was getting everything put back together. So we're gonna start Monday and away we go. We'll probably have lots of calls to the new city office.
We have a lot, we've already put some posts out there too,
Mhm.
and there's more scheduled. So roads are gonna, and we'll call people, and that, actually, it says in there that the contractor, if they're gonna turn off water, or they're gonna have that street on, that they have to notify the property owners 48 hours in advance. So I think there'll be some good communication.
And it works with our ARPA timeline because we have to have the money spent by December 31st or we lose it. So that was the other concern with getting, making sure all the paving was done so that money could be spent.
So that's in the works. We're gonna get the new well hooked up with the well house, and we're drilling another well between the well house and Coulter Trail with this money.
And the well at the tank is also
And-
being turned into a production well.
Good. So what Kelly told me was, and I thought it was a great idea, once the well between the new well and Coulter Trail is done, they're gonna run the line down to the new well house. So it'll have a double header in it. Now we have well house over where everybody parks for the rodeo over there. There's 3 headers in that. So it's kind of nice because when you test, you just have to test from one point instead of all 3 wells. So that's what I'll be doing over there. So that's good.
Especially because well houses are expensive to build.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a question about the water lines being replaced. That's different than the ones like when we did the home inventory. That's different thing.
This is the main. It's a water main, cast iron water main.
Can you remind me if there is like, is there some kind of deadline with that other one?
The service
Service
line,
line.
the service line one, they have a 10 years starting in 2028.
Okay.
So we have till 2038 to
Okay.
have all of those identified. And if there's any lead or lead parts on them, those have to be replaced by 2038.
And
We know
galvanized,
there's
or-
2 galvanized could be, and so those will probably have to be replaced too, but that is also maybe changing from what I read. While I was gone, just because of everything else that's going on, but there's 2 known leads in the vicinity of our project, and so they aren't right next to it, they're like half a block to a block away, unfortunately. But Susan Hayes is aware of those, and like we'll communicate with the property owner, and figure out if there's a way. All the streets dug up, to have their stuff dug up and replaced at the same time is gonna make it more cost effective for them as well.
And then the city is going from the main to the curb stop with the
Mhm.
poly line
Mhm,
in this project.
mhm.
I wasn't sure where the water mains are on.
Yours is
They're
on
in the
the,
street.
In
they're
the
in the
street?
Mhm.
and
Okay.
yours is on, it would be Second Avenue.
Uh-huh, yeah,
And
I know where it comes.
And it's pretty about 15 feet from the hydrant out. So yours is on the outside of the street. Okay,
Mhm.
any other questions? All right. Is there any, we don't have any new business tonight. Gloria, is there any more comments from our
Nope.
mayor and council announcements? I was just gonna announce what we talked about Earth Day on the 24th. And that's what I had in mind.
What time are we meeting at City Hall?
Say 1 o'clock, Crystal, or
Yep, 1 o'clock,
1 o'clock?
probably be done in a couple hours. Actually.
And Susan's coming down.
Yep, we didn't have near as many as people as have said that they're gonna come this last year. And I think we were still done in a couple hours last year, so.
George and I did the main drag from the elevator clear on out.
Susan and Wally and I did like the West Jefferson side and then came up like West Ivy too, just because we had the missionaries did the front part of the highway. Everything went pretty fast. It was actually pretty clean too. We didn't have a lot of stuff other than like, scrap wood ended up being stuff you pick up too, and we just pile it up and the public works crew will come pick it all up.
We could call the little gal that cleans up the rodeo for the detentions every time the brothers come down.
I didn't put that one on her work program dates.
Okay, that's all I had. Is there any council announcements?
Jean, do you have an announcement?
Yeah.
This is
Thinking here on this thing. Received word from the Recreation Trails Program that was successful on a grant for $100,000 for trail maintenance. But I also received notice yesterday, from the Trail Stewardship Program that did not receive a grant there. And so last week I went before the Open Space Board in Bozeman at the county commission and put in an application for $100,000 for that money. We'll find out later on this month whether I scored high enough, and then if you score high enough, then you got to go directly before the county commissioners, and that's probably going to be in May, I think. I'd have to look at the timeline again, but I haven't heard anything on the AARP grant. Only doing 50% right now. Is a little unhappy about that.
They can do all that money.
The grant that I put in for the recreation trails, I'm going to crack seal and seal coat Jefferson Street before those cracks get so big that
Yeah.
we can't. And then I'm gonna do some replacement of the asphalt down on Montana Street where it got too low in there, and then they came in and put that sewer main across the street. And so it ends up a real mess. The water sits on the trail. Plus there's always a bunch of gravel and stuff on that thing. So I'm gonna clean that up. And then this will actually, hopefully, that depends on how the bids go. It'll go all the way through there over to where it goes into the school and do all that material.
So that'll raise it up too.
Yeah, we'll take a section in there on Montana Street and raise it up. We'll put some more gravel in and then repave it and get it out of the water and the dirt and stuff. So, but if you go on the trail, it's not bad. I mean, you got cracks, but they're only about like that now, and so it makes a lot more sense. And so if I'm successful on the grant that I put in for with the open space, I'm probably looking at doing an overlay project on the oldest part of the trail there from 7th Avenue out around the ponds. And so, you know, them cracks have gotten like this and you can't seal them anymore. And I get complaints from bicycle riders all the time, and I understand. I ride on it too with my bike, and after a while it does start to hurt the backside. a little bit. Yeah.
If you have people riding in the road, they
Yeah,
don't wanna
so-
be on the trail.
And so it's, you know, it's the oldest section of trail. It was built in 99 and 98. And so it's due, and so we'll have to do it. And I got a couple of people that are, I think, gonna volunteer to restain the little gazebo out there on the thing that sticks out on the thing there. We'll see what happens on that. It actually needs some sanding and some work to make it back up to that.
Speaking of trails, that sinkhole blowout thing, whatever, how does, who pays for that?
Trail system.
Trails.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. You know, I had Steve Johnson and Bill go out and look at it. And I haven't talked to him because Steve's been gone, but
ELM called Monday and could not get out, they could not find the fiber optic. And so they were gonna come back today and finish locating so that they could give the approval, you know, go ahead and get going.
yeah.
They can only
That
find the
fiber
central.
optic runs right down the old Milwaukee Railroad grid, because I think if you look over by the golf course, you can see some things, and you can see the fiber optic. You used to be able to see the fiber optic in the river when you got out there. Yeah, you could see it laying on the bottom of the river.
Wow.
So I don't think it went along that edge, but what we're worried about is that, did that culvert cave in on top? And so if we dump a bunch of gravel in there, we're gonna fill up the culvert. So that's the thing, we gotta make
I
sure.
was
we
wondering
do.
if there was a culvert there.
There is.
There
yeah,
is,
that's
yeah,
it.
that's when the
Underneath
beaver,
the-
Yeah.
that's when the beaver always builds a nest inside there, or a dam inside it.
Yeah, you don't wanna go smoking down that on your bicycle too fast, you put too much room there.
Okay.
But there's been a lot of people using it. I mean,
Yeah.
Saturday or Sunday, I'm not sure what day we were out there, and we rode out to where you run to the end of it. It usually takes us about 45 minutes to an hour, and we counted 60 people on the trail in that
Wow.
hour.
Of
course, it was-
Wow.
Probably the nicest part of the day, and it was probably about 60 degrees, but it's nice to see people out there. And that, we didn't count all the people at the ponds, because I don't know for sure what they're doing. but,
Yeah, anytime I'm running, I'm never by myself. There's
yeah.
people coming and going.
So it gets used, that's what we want.
Mhm.
Thank you, Gene.
Mhm.
Are there any other council now, Ed?
Well, some of us attended the chamber dinner last Saturday. And I thought the chamber did a really good job organizing it. And there was lots of stuff for the silent auction. A lot of people there turned out, and I think everybody had a good time.
Thanks. It was fun.
I got a question for you too, Gene, on the building that's going up by the caboose. How's that coming along? It's a
Clay,
maintenance
yeah,
slash
it's a-
storage.
Right, Clay, who was our contractor on that, is supposed to start this back going on it this week. He has 2 bathroom remodels in the Madison Valley, about as far away as you can get. In fact, it's probably closer to the Norris Road than it is here, so he's been traveling, but then he goes back onto that.
So that's for storage and
Storage and maintenance. In other words, was built big enough to where we can take those large display cases out of and rebuild them. And we'll also have displays in there or different things that, you know, that we're gonna change in and out as year, you know, we change stuff every year on doing certain things. That's what
that'll be nice. It's a nice building.
Yeah, just gonna, the only problem with it, not with the building, with building it is, you know, and I guess that's what you're supposed to do, but we collect a lot of stuff. And, you know, it gets to be a problem, you know, we got a storage unit out town there
I've
that's
seen
full of
it.
stuff, and before they sold the Hensley building, there was a lot of stuff in it. So we're trying to maybe come up with a policy or a, policy, I guess would be a good word, of what we can take and what we can't, you know. Granddad's old fencing pliers, you know, are nice, but we got about 12 pairs of fencing pliers upstairs. I mean, so there's gotta be something, you know, to say, you know, a lot of people, I mean, we probably have 20 military uniforms. Because Dad died and he didn't want to throw away his army uniform, but we don't want to throw it away. So we're gonna give it to the museum, and so. Well, we don't want to throw it away either since you give it to us, but I mean, we can only stand so many. And that's the problem, even though, you know, it's nice to get donations, it's sometimes it gets to be a problem where you put stuff and find a spot for it, you know.
Well, our storage unit is done, isn't it, out there? It's full.
Oh, yeah,
Because we put those, the
cases from the school.
school gave us their old trophy cases. June had about a half-inch spare by the time we slid them babies in.
You should have a garage thing.
Well, it's a good problem to have. It's just, you know, is making the determination on, I guess, what's historic. I mean, it's nice, you know, somebody's wedding dress from the 1920s might have meant a lot to some people, but I mean, how many wedding dresses can you, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But that's what it's gonna be for, Ray, but it's mostly gonna be for that museum.
Well, it looks like it's gonna be nice.
Yeah. There'll be storage up above.
It'll look better than that other thing.
But I got interested, you know, Randy was at the meeting, you know, a year ago, a gentleman from Missoula by the name of Bear stopped in there. And Larry was working that day, and Larry gave him a tour of the caboose and the museum, and this Bear's a young guy, he's a builder, carpenter, furniture maker. And he told Larry, he says, you know, Larry, I'm gonna make you a flag. Larry says, okay, that'd be nice, and so, well, a few months later or 6 months later, Bear's son was in a speech meet at Manhattan, and he brings down this flag that's carved out of white oak. And I mean, it's
Wow.
got the things and everything on it's wood, whatever, and it's probably 3 by 6 or something. We got it hanging on the wall. It might not be quite that big with a light on it and stuff. It's really, I mean, it's,
Wow.
the wood's like, this thick, and he took it, it's white oak from what he said was the first grain elevator built in Minnesota. And it partially burned down, and so when he checked on the wood about it, they told him they could have it all if he would tear the rest of it down. And so he did that. So people, he kind of put a few of these, there's one of these flags in the Capitol, the Rotunda in Helena. And so he asked, people started asking him to build them. So he built 6 of them, or 4 of them for a shop down in Jackson, Wyoming. And so when he was pulled up down there and started unloading them and people were helping, they sold all 4 of them before they got them in the building. And those he was selling for a little over $6,000.
Wow.
And now what he's taken down to Jackson, Wyoming, they're selling for $26,000. Yeah. And
Because
so-
it takes him how long to build?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it probably takes, but I mean, it's,
About 3 months.
CNC machine.
yeah, it's consuming, that's about all he does now. He doesn't make
Probably
furniture,
right.
but so,
So if you're ever down at the depot, you'll have to scout it
yeah,
out.
it's a neat thing. I don't think we quite realized what we were getting until we got it. And so it's really nice that when people do stuff like that too. So I'm complaining about gifts and so, but I mean, you know.
And Larry put a light up above it, so it's lit up all the time. But it looks like inside when you walk in, it's waving in the wind, but it's wood.
Yeah, it's carved with the waves in the flag. So he done a lot of work on it.
Okay,
Thank you. I'm sorry. That might be a
That's
little
good.
boring, but.
no, I thought it was good. Speaking of which, the Historical Society is always looking for volunteers, right, Dean?
Yes.
For their daily gigs. And I'll be running the depot from 9 to 1 on Tuesdays, but so anybody in here who wants to spend some time, we can put you to work, right, Dean?
That's right.
Okay, any other council announcements? Okay. Then we'll have the agenda items coming up for next meeting in our new city office. 5/13/2025, we're going to be reading of an ordinance adding to the southeast zoning district to the zoning code. And the first reading of an ordinance adding a landscaping chapter to the zoning code. So,
You might have your impact fees that night too. Might be a
could be.
lot longer than tonight.
We'll be ready for it. We've had enough rest.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Moving second, adjourn.